This is an NBC News special report. Here's Harry Smith.
Good day from New York. We are coming on the air with breaking news from overseas, where a terror attack has struck in the heart of Barcelona, Spain, according to police there. At this hour, a manhunt is underway for at least one suspect after a van plowed into a crowd of pedestrians in a busy area popular with tourists, killing at least one person and injuring some 32 others. We want to get right now to NBC's Kelly Cobier, who's standing by in London. Kelly, what's the latest there?
Well, Harry, police have closed down that area. They're asking people to stay away. They've cordoned off parts of it. As you can imagine, they are still treating victims, some 32 injured, 10 of them seriously injured, and at least one person dead. Police fear that the number of fatalities will rise. We've been looking at these social media pictures posted on social media over the past couple of hours, and they show really an absolutely devastating scene along Las Ramblas district in Barcelona, a district that is very popular with tourists. It's one of those must-see sites for those visiting Barcelona. It was a beautiful day, about 5:15 in the afternoon, Spain time. The area was packed with tourists when eyewitnesses say this white van jumped the curb and accelerated into the crowd. These pictures, some of them just too graphic to show on television, show people lying on the ground, some of them not moving. Emergency services helping many of the victims, and also people who were simply eyewitnesses and not hurt, also trying to help the wounded. As you mentioned, police at this hour are looking for at least one suspect. They have closed down that area. They have stopped, they've closed train stations and metro stations and are now searching for this one person. A lot of reporting in local media about who the suspect might be, about possible items that may have been found in that van, and records of who may have rented it. None of this confirmed as yet by police, but they are treating this, Harry, as a terrorist attack. They call it massive and intentional.
Kelly Cobier in London, thank you very much. We want to confirm right now what we're reporting is what we know we can confirm. There's a lot of information on social media with various reports of numbers of injured, numbers dead, other events that may or may not be going on in Barcelona right now. We're telling you the things that we know for sure. NBC White House correspondent Kristen Welker is in Bedminster, New Jersey, where President Trump is on his working vacation. What's the latest there?
Harry, we know that the president's chief of staff, John Kelly, has been made aware of the situation in Barcelona and is briefing the president. We anticipate he will continue to brief him throughout the day. President Trump, of course, has made fighting terrorism a key campaign promise, one of the pillars of his presidency. And since he took office, there have been a number of terror attacks on foreign soil, from London to Paris, Stockholm, and beyond. And in each instance, the president responds with very strong words, a robust response, another vow to fight terrorism and to crack down on ISIS. At this point in time, no word on whether we will hear from President Trump today. We can tell you that he has no public events on his schedule. He is going to be having lunch with the governor of Florida. He has another meeting later on this afternoon. We will track to see if that changes at all. The First Lady, though, has weighed in on Twitter. She has tweeted thoughts and prayers to hashtag Barcelona. Now, of course, all of this comes after this weekend's violent clashes in Charlottesville, which claimed the life of a young woman, what a number of officials are referring to as a terrorist attack here on U.S. soil. Of course, President Trump getting criticized for his response to that. Now, tomorrow, he will shift his focus to foreign policy. The president heads to Camp David, where he will be meeting with the vice president, his National Security Council, as well as his defense secretary. The key topic there will be Afghanistan. What is the strategy moving forward? But undoubtedly, Harry, they will address what is happening in Barcelona today, Harry.
Especially in light of current events. Kristen Welker in Bedminster, New Jersey, thank you very much. NBC national security analyst Michael Leitner, former director of the National Counterterrorism Center, joins us now on the phone. Michael, just from what you've been able to observe over the last couple of hours, what are you thinking?
Well, Harry, regrettably, this looks very much like other attacks that we've seen, and an adoption of this very simple yet painfully effective technique by terrorist groups. Of course, began in some extent with ISIS in Nice, the most successful attack, but this methodology has been adopted by all strains of political terrorism. Of course, the tragedy in Charlottesville, and also an attack in London against a Muslim community at the Finsbury Mosque. So regrettably, these are very, very simple tactics, but they can be highly effective in open democratic societies, and it's extremely challenging for officials in any city, whether it's the United States, the UK, France, or now in Spain, to defend perfectly against these sorts of attacks.
Just as we're continuing our conversation, Michael, I want to report that national police in Spain are calling urgently for blood donations there. We know there are several dozen people injured. We don't know the extent of those injuries to this point yet. Michael, just as we continue to observe this, it was just last summer on Bastille Day that horrible attack happened in Nice. As I've been looking at pictures on social media, they are horrifically reminiscent of what we saw that day last summer.
It really is, Harry, and unfortunately, terrorists learn from successes, and terrorists like things which are simple and effective, and that's exactly what these vehicular attacks are, especially in countries like Spain, where as a general matter, things like firearms or precursors to explosives are much easier to obtain. The Spanish have a long history with terrorism. They have avoided to some extent the real pains of Islamic-inspired terrorism that the French and the UK and the Germans have seen, although, of course, they did experience a serious attack in the Madrid train system in 2004. But their biggest experience has been with Basque separatists. That terrorist strain has dropped significantly over the past couple of years, and this really is not a technique or approach that traditionally Basque separatists would have taken. So I think, although we obviously don't know enough, there are enough hallmarks here, and what the Spanish officials are saying, it looks much like the European attacks we've seen over the past year or two. Yeah,
because if memory serves, the Basque separatists in the most violent parts of that movement, there were bombings. Difficult to sort of, look at this, and we've not heard that anyone has taken credit for this thus far. Are you hearing any rumblings, anything reportable that you could enlighten us with in that regard?
I'm not, but I don't think we should really read into the fact that no one has taken credit. In the days of the IRA and to some extent Al-Qaeda, taking credit for these attacks happened quite quickly, but especially in the era of ISIS. The entire idea of who is in the movement and who is not is so different that taking credit for these things is not something an organization necessarily knows. In many cases of ISIS attacks, the first time that ISIS Command Central, we might call it, knows about it is when the attack itself occurs. So I don't expect that we will hear anything from ISIS if this turns out to be Sunni-inspired terrorists anytime soon. And I don't think we should read into the lack of a statement of responsibility either. Yeah, right.
Let's have plenty of a history of lone wolves acting out there for different causes. Michael Leiter, a national security analyst for NBC News, thank you very much for your time. We want to go back out to New Jersey right now and check in with Kristen Welker, who has some late breaking news out of the State Department. Kristen.
Harry, that's right. The Secretary of State Rex Tillerson just had a news conference with the Prime Minister of Japan. Let me characterize for you some of his comments that he made about Barcelona. He says that the United States offers condolences on the loss of life and injury. The United States is continuing to monitor and assist law enforcement. U.S. consulates and embassies are working with their counterparts in Spain. And this final point, Harry, is an important one. He is urging all Americans who are in the area area to let their loved ones know that they are safe, to contact their loved ones if they can. It underscores the fact that this is a whole of government response. Everyone within the Trump administration focused on what is happening right now in Barcelona as President Trump continues with his working vacation here in New Jersey. And again, he is here with his chief of staff and a number of his other top advisors. They are continuing to make sure he is briefed on the ongoing developments out of Barcelona, Harry.
Kristen Walker and Bedminster this afternoon, thank you. We're going to have full coverage throughout the day on MSNBC and on NBCNews.com, and a complete wrap-up tonight on NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt. For now, I'm Harry Smith, NBC News, New York.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here, and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.